Oh boy, guys, we got a lot to talk about. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a very special episode of ezBUCKETz. How you guys doing today? I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. In today's video, I got something that I guarantee you guys are gonna love, especially if you love NBA trades. The NBA trade deadline is officially over, and that's why for this video, we're gonna be talking about everything that just happened. There were a lot of small deals, a lot of decent deals, some blockbuster deals, and for this video, we're gonna cover every single one of them, talking about every single trade that just happened. So if you're a big NBA fan and you want to recap, this video's for you. But quickly, before I get on with the video, I just want to say, if you're new to the channel and you love basketball, welcome to ezBUCKETz. My name is Soom, and I make basketball videos every single day. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications to not miss any of my upcoming videos. If you watched this video and you loved it, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. I would really appreciate it. It would help out the channel a lot. But without wasting any more time, let's talk about the NBA trade deadline. Oh my goodness, guys, the NBA trade deadline is officially over, and I'm gonna be honest, I kind of like this year. The NBA trade deadline is one of the most important times during an NBA season because during this time, teams simply have to try to get better. I'm gonna be honest though, there are so many players that didn't end up getting traded. I was kind of disappointed, but still, I can't be upset because we had a total of 13 trades that happened during this year's NBA trade deadline. For this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about all 13 trades, going through what I think is good and what's bad in the trade, talking about what's good and bad when it comes to the trade, comes to the teams, and simply tell you guys my expectation. This video right here is the ultimate recap for the 2021 NBA trade deadline. The first trade that ultimately ended up happening was at 12 a.m. all the way in the morning, and it was the Detroit Pistons trading Delon Wright to the Kings for Corey Joseph and 2 second-round picks. In my opinion, this is kind of a low-end trade, not that popular. It's basically the Pistons going for a full rebuild mode and trying to get as many future assets as possible. I'm kind of surprised that Delon Wright was in the trade because we were expecting Wayne Ellington, even Jeremy Grant or Mason Plumlee, but of course with the Pistons trying to develop Killian Hayes, this trade ultimately ended up happening. The next trade that happened was at 10 a.m. this morning, and it was the Denver Nuggets acquiring JaVale McGee from the Cavaliers. The Cavs are trading JaVale McGee to the Nuggets in exchange for Isaiah Hartenstein and 2 future second-round picks. I believe this was a great deal for the Nuggets. When talking about the Cavaliers and JaVale McGee, he was on a roster that had so many front-court players. There was Jared Allen, Larry Nance Jr., of course Andre Drummond and Kevin Love, and now that JaVale McGee can play on a championship playoff contender, the Nuggets get a very valuable front-court player because this past offseason, they lost Mason Plumlee and they lost Jeremy Grant. With JaVale McGee being an NBA championship experienced player and an energy boost off the bench, I love this deal. It's great for Nikola Jokic having a backup center. The next trade that happened is revolving Nikola Vucevic, and I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the best trades that ultimately ended up happening. Here's the deal. The Bulls land Nikola Vucevic and Al-Farouq Amino in exchange for Otto Porter, Wendell Carter Jr., and 2 first-round draft picks. This is an amazing trade for the Bulls, as right now, they're competing for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, and Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and Coby White gets a big-time help in the All-Star. I'm gonna be honest though, this was a bad deal for the Orlando Magic. They could have at least asked for Coby White or even Lauri Markkanen, but ended up just giving away Wendell Carter Jr. Don't forget, Nikola Vucevic is an All-Star. With the Orlando Magic in a full rebuild mode, they might give the center frontcourt position to Wendell Carter Jr. So let's see how ultimately he ends up doing as their starting center. But one thing's for sure, the Bulls 100% win this deal. The next trade that ultimately happened was revolving the Boston Celtics, and that was them getting Evan Fournier, of course from the Orlando Magic, in exchange just for 2 second-round draft picks. In my personal opinion, I believe this was an amazing trade for the Boston Celtics. They literally don't give up any assets or a player to get Evan Fournier. They give away 2 second-round picks, not even a first-round pick. We all know this past offseason, the Boston Celtics lost Gordon Hayward, and after that deal, they simply have a lot of cap space available, which is why in this trade, it makes sense. Evan Fournier comes in to fill in that Gordon Hayward role last year. I believe with Evan Fournier's leadership, his NBA experience, and his play style, he'll be a great fit off the bench for the Boston Celtics to get a higher seed in the Eastern Conference. The next trade was a big one as well, and that's the Orlando Magic trading Aaron Gordon away to the Denver Nuggets in exchange for Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a first-round pick. I believe this was a great trade for the Denver Nuggets. Ever since losing Jeremy Grant, the Denver Nuggets have always been looking for that forward frontcourt player to simply be an offensive and defensive presence, and this is where Aaron Gordon comes in. The Nuggets just got JaVale McGee to be their backup center, and getting Aaron Gordon to be their starting power forward over Paul Millsap, I believe with him still being young, he has a lot of potential to simply make this team better, alongside Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., and of course Nikola Jokic. Aaron Gordon has been linked to so many teams, and the Nuggets weren't a popular one, but I'm happy for the Nuggets. This was a good move for them. The next trade is a low-end trade, and that's revolving the Washington Wizards, and this was the only move they made. It was them trading away Troy Brown and Mo Wagner in exchange for Daniel Gafford and Chandler Hutchinson. In my opinion, Daniel Gafford might get some minutes on the Wizards. I'm just happy Bradley Beal wasn't traded. Beal stays with Washington, and this is a low-end trade. With the Bulls trading away Otto Porter Jr., Troy Brown might get some minutes at that starting small forward. We'll have to see how they use Patrick Williams, and of course Thaddeus Young. The next trade is a low-end one as well, and that's the Miami Heat sending Mo Harkless and Chris Silva to the Sacramento Kings in exchange for Nemanja Bjelica. This is a low-end trade. I believe it's great for the Heat. They get a front-court presence after trading away Myers Leonard. The next trade that happened was talking about the Philadelphia 76ers, and that's them getting George Hill from OKC in exchange for Tony Bradley, Terrence Ferguson, and 2 future first-round draft picks. This was a 3-way deal. Austin Rivers goes to OKC. I believe this was a great move for the 76ers. We all know this year they were looking for a point guard behind Ben Simmons. Kyle Lowry was a very popular target, but ultimately George Hill was the answer. He's a veteran, a very smart player, has a lot of respect in the NBA, and I believe he'll be a great point guard, shooting guard off the bench for the 76ers. The next trade on this list is talking about the Portland Trailblazers, and that's the Raptors trading Norman Powell to Portland in exchange for Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood. I believe this is a great deal for both teams, as the Portland Trailblazers get a scoring punch to help them make a deep playoff run, and then the Raptors know that this offseason, Norman Powell is going to opt out of his contract. Gary Trent and Rodney Hood could be a part of their future going forward. This year so far, when CJ McCollum was not in the lineup, Gary Trent stepped up, averaged about 15 points per game, and right now with the Raptors needing a spark plug, Gary Trent could be their guy. Norman Powell is having a spectacular season, and him joining CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard could give the Portland Trailblazers a backcourt that's almost unstoppable. The next trade on this list is a low-end trade, and that is the Raptors trading Matt Thomas to the Utah Jazz for a future second-round pick. This is a low-end trade. Of course, the Raptors were trying to free up space to maybe trade Lowry, but of course that ultimately did not end up happening. The next trade is a very popular trade, and that is the Hawks trading Rajon Rondo to the Clippers in exchange for Lou Will. I believe this was a great move for the Clippers, not so much for the Atlanta Hawks. The only good part about the Hawks is that Lou Will plays for his hometown, Atlanta, Georgia, but then Rondo joins Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Serge Ibaka for a potential deep playoff run. We all know the Clippers have been looking for a point guard for some time now. They've been linked to Kyle Lowry. They've been linked to Terry Scary Terry. They've been linked to even Lonzo Ball. But Rondo, in my opinion, was a low-end deal, and I believe it's something that will be worth it. As Rondo, we all know, was on the Lakers. He can help the Clippers beat the Lakers in the playoffs. The next trade is talking about JJ Redick of the Pelicans, and he is joining Luka Doncic on the Dallas Mavericks. And from what we're hearing, Nikola Melli will also be joining him. This trade happens literally at 2:56 p.m., 4 minutes before the NBA trade deadline, and I believe this year with the Dallas Mavericks trying to solidify a strong playoff spot, JJ Redick could be a great sharpshooter, a great leader to go alongside Luka Doncic. This is a great move for the Pelicans and the Dallas Mavericks, as the Dallas Mavericks get a playoff contender player, and then the Pelicans don't end up buying out JJ Redick. They get good return. But then the last trade that happened that is possibly the best trade during this year's NBA trade deadline, that is the Houston Rockets trading Victor Oladipo to the Miami Heat, joining Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. We all know this Oladipo has had heavy interest in going to the Miami Heat, and from what we're hearing, the Heat are offering Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, and a future swap pick. I believe this was a great deal for the Miami Heat. With the Houston Rockets entering a full rebuild mode, giving more minutes to Kevin Porter Jr. is their main goal, and of course John Wall might get shut down. The Rockets don't care about Oladipo, he's gonna leave them anyways in free agency. That's why getting a future pick swap is the best thing for them. This is a great deal for the Heat. They're gonna be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, and hopefully we see a pretty good matchup of them versus the Brooklyn Nets, maybe in the Eastern Conference playoffs finals. So ultimately guys, this wraps up my video today, talking about the biggest trades that happened during this year's NBA trade deadline. What's most important to me is one of your thoughts. Which one of these trades do you believe is your favorite? Were there any other players you wish could be traded? Let me know what you're thinking down in the comment section down below. But other than that, take it easy, God bless, and I'll see you all next time on Easy Buckets. Woo!